All right, this whole time we've been muted. Looky here. Let's give a quick shout out to the good folks over at Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since '92, specializing in Packers tickets. They are Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Click on the link in the video description. They'll send you to their website, theticketking.com. You can register as a customer. Go ahead and start shopping for your Packers tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Right there's all the proof you need as to why it's important that we got Tim here, because when Clayton screws stuff up, he goes, "Hey, Clayton, I can't hear you, you knucklehead." So that's what we need. And Tim has joined us now, so everything's back on track. Tim, how you doing, bub?
Good, man. I'm barely awake, and I'm late as usual. Hopefully, Coach doesn't find me. I'll be all right though. Get the diesel flowing.
Yeah, you'll be good, man. No, nobody was. I think Coach is still sleeping too, to be honest with you. So it's
how many times are you going to come to my press conference late?
I was waiting on it. Oh, man. I know the chat's already lit up. Got all kinds of good conversation taking place in there. We're going to hit on a couple of different things here this morning. But I appreciate y'all making us a part of your morning here. That was basically the entire intro that y'all missed, was me just talking about how great y'all are. So you already missed it. Sorry. I ain't going to do it again, all right? But let's go into the chat real quick, Tim. We got a lot of people in here chatting it up. And let's see here. Nick McSwain in the chat says, well, first of all, let me do this. Let me say this. The picture of Carl Brooks blocking the field goal, right? When we originally got the field goal, I thought it said the block. And then someone had said to me, what did a point after it got blocked? And like I had mentioned on Twitter earlier, or no, I think it was in our Patreon group, man, I got the memory of a freaking June bug. Like I can't remember what I ate last night. So I'm like, well, it must be the case, right? And lo and behold, it was a blocked field goal, right? So the actual autograph picture we're going to be giving away next week that was donated by Trevor Anderson, shout out to him, is it's basically Carl Brooks blocking the field goal, and it says "da block," D-A block. All right, that's how he signed it. So
like the Bears got
exactly. So
their kick.
Just wanted to point that out.
Love it.
Once again, Clayton in here screwing things up. So that's what it actually says there. All right. So let's go to the chat here. Nick McSwain says, if we don't trade Malik for a pick this offseason, we won't be able to get anything at all next offseason, right? If so, think we should get something for him while you can. So, Nick, I was just going over the rules. I don't see anything in there that would suggest we would not qualify for a comp pick. Now, I think the maximum of the comp pick is a third rounder. It's typically between a third and a seventh rounder. So here's essentially what it comes down to. If the market is there if a team comes to you and says, hey, we'll give you a second round pick for Malik Willis, here's the pros and cons of what you've got to weigh out. You got to say, okay, is it worth it to get a pick one round later or one round earlier than what our comp pick would be if he hits the market? And again, somebody signs him and we don't sign a whole bunch of free agents, right? So the maximum comp that we could get would be a third round pick. You got to do a cost analysis comparison there and go, okay, is it worth it for us to gain one round in the draft, right? And give up some would say a starting caliber quarterback, at least the way he played this year, albeit a very small sample size. Would it be worth it to do that? For me, if you're only talking about one round of difference, I want to keep that quarterback for this last year so we have a solid backup quarterback who knows the system, who has shown that he can win in this system. And I think that the value is greater there with having a solid backup than to just climb up one round. Now, again, that comp pick could end up being a fourth rounder. It could end up being a fifth rounder all the way to the seventh, right? But if someone's willing to give up a second round pick for him, okay, my guess is they understand the market's going to be hot for that, for said quarterback. So he'll probably warrant you getting a third round pick back. It's kind of the way I see it. So I don't know if you got any takes on that, Tim, and I'm sure other people are chatting about it in the comments section. Like I said last night, my stance is still the same. If somebody comes offering a first round pick or more, I'm probably really, really going to entertain that, probably pull the trigger. Anything less than a first, I don't really care about that one round differential because, again, draft picks are not slam dunks. They're not. Yeah. Now, if you hit on them, that's how you end up with $62 million in cap space because you've got solid starting players on that 4-year rookie contract. It's huge. But what do you think about that, Tim?
I mean, we've talked about this. The likelihood that we get offered a first round,
highly unlikely.
Right? Highly unlikely, but it's not impossible.
Right.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. And, especially judging, the stuff that Malik's put on tape this year and a handful of starts and then, coming in as in a backup role. So I don't think it's completely impossible, but I just think it's really unlikely that we get a first rounder. And I'm with you though. I'd like to hold on as long as we can, but we got a starting caliber quarterback. That's our backup, and we're gonna have to figure something out here.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Chris in the chat says, I think we need him, Nick. And again, I understand that aspect of the conversation too. Prince says, if Malik leaves in free agency after the 2025 season, the most you could get for him would be a third-round comp pick the following year. There you go. And again, it's not like it's going to happen that year. You got to wait the following year too. And I know people scoff at this, but it's the reality of the market in the NFL. A third-rounder next year equals a second-rounder the year after, right? So, like, if you give someone a second-rounder this year, typically you can climb up one round in the draft. It's almost like getting that player 1 year earlier, the value increases by one round on average. So keep that in mind too. You're losing value having to wait a full year to get that comp pick too. That's a real aspect of the negotiation as well. So the second rounder is in that ballpark, right? Could be. I'm struggling over here, Tim. I just ate some bacon and a waffle, man, and I usually don't eat this early. So
You hurting over there?
I'm hurting, Linda. I'm hurting real bad. Packers Kingdom in the chat. Good morning, Clayton. Do you miss 2024 Matt LaFleur when he first came and he was going crazy play calling? See, this is where we differ, Packers Kingdom, and I differ with a lot of people on Twitter. Matt LaFleur is in his bag as much as he's ever been. In my opinion, he's dipping too deep into the bag at times, and we're kind of outthinking ourselves. Now, we've had a top 10 passing game ever since Matt LaFleur has been here. And this year, we showed you Jordan Love was like, what was it, 4th or 5th in EPA per dropback, right?
Yeah, I think it was 4th. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he's had his struggles. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, to say that he's not as effective with his play calling, and I think that's what you're saying, Packers. I don't want to put words into your mouth, but no, man. You see what he did with Malik Willis? That's the other thing. We're giving Malik Willis all this credit, and granted, he made the plays, but boy, oh boy, when you look at that game plan he drew up, it feels like it was years ago. But if you go back and look at the media and everyone react to how Matt LaFleur called that, oh man, let me tell you, it was awesome. I mean, that's when we seen the pony package with the rotation and all that stuff and the different counters and all that. It's like, dang, Matt in his bag. And again, knowing how to dissect the defense and put his quarterback in a position to be successful. And you guys know in the post-game show after the Minnesota game, I was like, and I always throw in the caveat, and that's why I need to go watch the tape, but I don't like how Matt called this game. And then I go back and watch it, and I'm like, because the reason I felt that way is because Jordan was just taking shots down the field. And I'm not necessarily a go route, but, a 13-yard out route on first down, right? And then you go back and watch the tape, and you guys remember on postgame show, Tim, I said, yeah, man, it just felt like all the routes were downfield, and Jordan really didn't have a chance. And then we go back and watch the tape and go, no, he had multiple options underneath. And again, this isn't the dog Jordan. I'm just simply saying my emotion of watching the game in real time and then going back and watching the tape, the all-22, and really getting an understanding of the defense and the route concepts that were thrown against that defense. It wasn't Matt's fault most of the time. It was more on the quarterback not taking the check down when it was there on those early downs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's like Matt schemes it up so good. You got 2 or 3 targets open on these plays. You got a young starter that's getting a little greedy back there, right? He wants to go for that kill shot. And, it's a love-hate relationship with that kind of guy, right? Sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it. But,
yeah,
I agree, Clay. I think Matt's been in his bag since he got here. I don't think there's any kind of, deviation from that. I don't think Matt's regressed as a play caller at all. I think the scheme continues to improve. And, he's a student of the game too. And, a film junkie and, is always looking to improve. So I don't think there's been any regression at all with Coach LaFleur.
Yeah. Prince in the chat said his value might be the highest next year after they can let him play in preseason games to show off a bit, talking about Malik Willis. That's another point too. Like the longer you hold on to him, you might be able to build even more value. But also we know, at least in this cycle of the offseason, the most value he's going to carry is going into free agency because there's going to be other free agents on the market, right? It's going to be a little bit saturated But in the back of all these GMs' minds that need a franchise quarterback, they're going to be looking over going, that dude has seen NFL time, and he looked pretty damn good, right, with proper coaching. If anything, I think this whole Malik Willis experiment has exposed just how bad the Tennessee Titans organization was at evaluating talent. And then on top of that, if Malik Willis was Vrabel's guy, and then they run the GM out of town, right? And then they run Vrabel out of town, and then they trade away Malik Willis, and the guy that they ran all those people out of town to kind of stick with in Will Levis is as bad as he's played, then it's more, to me, it's more of an indictment on how that organization is ran as opposed to whether Malik Willis can play, in any program or what have you. I think it's a boring argument, Tim, but most of the time the truth lies right in the middle, right? Someone will say, this is the problem. The other will say, this is the problem. And you go, actually, you're both right. You're just refusing to see each other's side of the equation there. So that's probably what you got there. Chris N in the chat says, if we didn't have Malik this year, we won't make the playoffs. I would push back a little on that, Chris, because you don't really know how the rest of the season plays out, right? But the one thing that's for certain, Malik maximized his opportunity. I mean, we don't know how this team and these coaches would have responded. They could have had a horrible year if Malik doesn't win those 2 games, right? We keep saying Malik win those 2 games, but we're making it sound as if he threw for 300 yards or something, right? But it wasn't the case. But he did what he was supposed to do, and he did it at a very, very high level, right? But, yeah, I'd like to think that the team would figure out a way to win those 2, turn 2 other losses into wins. That's definitely a possibility too, or at least one, maybe split. What if those 2 games, Malik loses one, and then one of the other losses with Malik not at the helm of those 2 games, you win one of those, and you make up your difference anyway. So I think we'd still be in that 10 to 13 range, me personally. And it's looking like we've got a decent shot after tomorrow to finish with 12 wins if we take care of business there with the Bears for sure. All right, Tim, let's do this, man. Another Carrington Valentine. It's so cool to see people starting to recognize Carrington Valentine and just how well he's played. You guys know we started talking about it probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's like, then this Carrington, he looks like he's improved. Played a lot of snaps last year, but this year it just seems like something clicked, both in man coverage and zone. I heard somebody say, yeah, but he can't play zone coverage. And I'm like, but one of his picks came from zone. What are you talking about? Like we're – you know what I'm saying? Like one of his biggest plays of the year. But anyway, PFF has started this new thing where they go, and I'm going to kill my camera so I can get up here real close. And I'll read it so you don't even have to worry about it too much there, Tim. But they've got a new thing called lockdown percentage. Okay, this is what it says. Over the last couple of weeks, we have presented a new metric we've coined, quote, lockdown percentage, which identifies the NFL's best defenders at preventing separation in coverage. Here's how the league's defenders have fared after 17 weeks of action. It says, what is lockdown percentage? This metric focuses on coverage, measuring how well a defender prevents a receiver from getting open. It excludes plays where the defender intentionally gives up space to protect the first down marker or limit yards after the catch. So what they've tried to do is filter out some of the noise of, okay, well, this player obviously right here isn't trying to cover this guy real close. He's giving him space to maybe protect against another route, right? So you're trying to remove some of that noise. Of all the corners in the entire league, all right, Carrington Valentine is sitting at 72.7%. And I want to say in the tweet, I actually put it out. I want to say, let's count it off here real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's not, according to this list right here, in the entire National Football League, actually tied for 8th, it looks like, with Brownlee Jr. And here's what's cool, too, is you're talking about 11 opportunities. So with those 11 opportunities, the snaps with no separation whatsoever were 8. So at 72%. Now, Eric Stokes made this list too, but I couldn't get the screen grab big enough. He's down around the 50% mark. So it's cool that he made the list, but you're talking about like a 21% difference between him and Carrington Valentine, right? So it's just another metric, another way we're looking up, and the PFF grade suggests Carrington's playing his ass off, right? And then you go watch the tape, and it's like, man, Carrington is playing really, really well. You go look at passer rating when targeted. Carrington's a top 20 cornerback in passer rating when targeted over the entire league. So the stats are backing up the PFF grade, and now they've got this new way of trying to measure lockdown percentage, and lo and behold, here he is in the top 10 of it. So, I put a tweet out earlier, and of course we had a knucklehead in there. He may be in the chat. If he is, I don't care. It's one of those responses. Tim put it in there like, hey man, he's quickly becoming a CB1. Like he's becoming a first string cornerback, a starting cornerback.
In the words of Chris Collinsworth,
here's the guy.
Exactly. And this guy responded with something like, well, we need to calm down. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then it was another, and then I just hit him with a GIF, like, okay, whatever. And then he hit another comment. I was like, okay, you're done, dude. Get the hell out of here. Like, you're not going to tell people how to fan. I'm not going to allow you to have the privilege of commenting on anything that I tweet and have a conversation with me or anyone else who wants to try to talk about football in a reasonable manner because you're so emotionally charged that you want to, basically argue when the Packers are doing something well. I'm just not going to do it. So he got the old block button this morning, but I just don't understand. Again, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about that portion of the fan base. Here you have a player that's playing good, right? The PFF grade suggests it. What do we always say? PFF isn't everything, right? So, okay, cool. Let's go to the passer rating when targeted. Oh, look, bang, it's good. All right, let's go to the tape and break down his actual assignment. They're running a Mabel, and he broke off underneath, baited the quarterback into throwing a corner route and picked it off. The week before, I think he was in man coverage, broke off of his man, playing that fisheye man, seen the quarterback throw, broke off his guy, went and snagged the ball in the end zone, winning you the middle late and the turnover differential in one play, in which he broke off by seeing exactly what the offense was doing. And we're not allowed to be excited about that because some knucklehead with 83 followers told me to calm down. Dude, get away from me with that crap. It's just crazy. So anyway, Carrington Valentine, though, Tim, listen, he could fall flat on his face in the playoffs. He may not be good from here on out the rest of his career, but what we're seeing right now suggests he is taking the next step and is able to be a cornerback one. And I'm not suggesting he could ever replace Jair Alexander. I don't think he's at that level yet with Jair's ceiling that he's got. But it is nice to know that Carrington, I think, should be the starting cornerback opposite of Jair if they do bring 23 back next year.
Yeah, and even if Ja's not in the fold, I think CV's still your starting guy opposite of probably Keyshawn or something on the boundary. Work hard, play hard, like the song, right? I mean, that's what this guy does, man. You can tell he put in the work to get to where he is. We saw little flashes of him last year, but nothing like the play that we're seeing out of him this year. And you hope with, like anyone else, especially young players, the more reps you get, the better you get. And, we saw him. We talk about the mic'd up moments that we caught last week with him. And you see the energy that he brings. And that's an important part, too, is to have fun out there. If you're focused and having fun and prepared and you're playing loose and you're not playing too tight and you're not worried about making too many mistakes, you start to see the type of performances that we're seeing from Carrington Valentine. You talk about that Mabel look and you talk about, him picking his teammates up and just making plays, man. And he's out there having fun, making plays, and we're a better team for it. And I think you're right. I think he's on the path to being that true starter. Really in our defense or any defense, really, you see him on a list like this, he's up there with the big boys already in this league. So I'm all for it, man. CV for CB1. Let's go.
Yeah. And again, it's another opportunity to get starting caliber play out of a player who's making pennies on the dollar. Like this is his second year, right, Tim? So he's got a 4-year deal total, which means he's under contract for 2 more years for a little over $1 million, if that. Because I want to say 7th-round picks. I think they creep up into the million mark by year 3, but I could be wrong. His entire contract may be under $1 million per year against the cap. So you got an opportunity to have a player who, and the other thing too is like he's playing for his contract. Yep. Right. So you're going to get the best version of that dude. You're going to get the best version of that guy going, all right, man, I'm going to go out there and ball out year in and year out. If he comes out in year 3 next year and he becomes a lockdown corner, like some of these metrics are suggesting he has the ability to do, if he does that, then going into year 4, guess what happens? Goody gives him a contract in camp. That's how that works.
Yep.
Right. And it's just exciting, man. And we need a larger sample size, right? And that's what we're going to get next year. But I think even more importantly, how is he going to play in the playoffs? How is he going to handle those big game situations? I think that's going to be absolutely huge. I really do, man. It's just the perfect timing for him to peak, for us as an organization to go, okay, let's see what we do in crunch time now with the most in the entire season at stake. And then we get to see a full year next year to make an educated decision on whether or not we want to pay him like a top cornerback. It's exciting. It is. And again, nobody's saying he needs to be paid top cornerback money yet. We're saying we have seen the ceiling now. We've seen what he's capable of doing. Now it goes back to Greg Cosell 101. Are you going to be that player week in and week out when things go wrong? Are you going to be able to adjust and be able to handle the ups and downs of the season and be consistent? It's those consistent players that break the bank and get the bag. So it's going to be fun, man. I can't wait. I can't wait to see how it shakes out. But let's see here. David in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. He says Valentine's biggest weakness last year was his unwillingness to tackle. This year, he's much better at that, and his ball awareness is also greatly improved. Yeah, I would disagree a little bit with the first comment. I feel like he's always been kind of a physical corner, comparatively speaking, but he's definitely gotten better at both. And especially what you said there on the backside, David, that his ball awareness is,
yeah.
I
wouldn't say unwillingness to tackle. I would say inability, maybe. Maybe
getting the NFL game
wasn't right there and getting downhill and doing the things you need to do.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, but I've always seen him as a physical DB, always willing to get in there and hit somebody.
And I remember this being a conversation this year. I think Matt LaFleur mentioned it in camp, right? As Ron Sanville says, Valentine bulked up some, and that seemed to improve his willingness to tackle as well. I remember LaFleur talking about that. He put on some muscle. So it's pretty cool. When the season ends, the coaches, they give an assignment to the players. They go, hey, we want you back at this weight next year for camp, right? Or for OTAs, whenever we meet again, right? And, it's twofold there. You want their body at the exact peak position that you want them at to do what you want them to do in the scheme. But also, it's a good measuring stick on the player, too, to go, hey, how serious are you taking this? It's one of the things that set Sean Ryan back. You guys remember, right? He was overweight. Matt LaFleur mentioned it. And the media, Matt LaFleur doesn't need to be saying that in public. Okay, all right. I'm sure Sean Ryan went home and just cried himself to sleep that Matt said he came in out of shape. Like, you guys have been out of the workforce for far too damn long to think that no one's allowed to critique anyone. Like, you wouldn't last a day out here in blue-collar America. You just wouldn't. Sean Ryan, that's what crazy is. A few weeks later, what did Matt say? One thing I'll say about Sean Ryan, boy, he takes the criticism and he runs with it and he builds off of it and he tries to be a better player. And we've seen that with Sean Ryan this year too. I'm glad Sean Ryan's on the roster next year, and I would not have said that going into this year, Tim. I think he's taking a step forward as well. So, it's going to be cool to see this team grow together for sure. Let's see here. Nick McSwain in the chat says, I'm honestly so tired of the LaFleur slander. It's becoming the popular thing, right, Nick? That's every year we get these. We get these where they want to find one player or one coach or one. It was Mark Murphy for a little bit when the Packers were just going on a tear. Everybody, why is Mark Murphy got to act like a bumbling idiot and blah, 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 blah.
Says the bumbling idiot.
Exactly. Exactly. But, I'm with you, man. The LaFleur slander's got to stop. And again, you heard me in the postgame show, man. I mentioned, like, hey, I didn't think he called a good game, and I had to eat my words. I went back and watched the tape and was like, boy, I was in my emotions in that postgame show. And I really, really try, and I fell miserably at it, but I try so hard going to that postgame show. All right, don't be overly emotional. Don't be too high. Don't be too low. And if you don't know, then you say you don't know, and we need to watch the tape. Because so many times I've made a jackass out of myself, man. King Tron with the super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, any stud DBs in the draft or free agency next year? I'm sure there is, King Tron. We hit the consensus big board a little bit last week, and I got some criticism for it. So we're going to back off a touch until the season's over. But as soon as the season's over, this show is going to completely flip, and it's going to be all about free agency frenzy, building up to free agency, as well as the draft. So you're going to get all that coverage, I promise. I'm sure there's going to be some in there, man. And, if you looked at that list again, Tim, if I can actually read it. It's so small on this tiny little tablet. But there was a couple players in there, at least one I know of. Let me drop that super chat down. Thank you, King Sean. Appreciate it, buddy. One in there, Quinyon Mitchell. You see him down there at 68%?
There's a guy that was on our board.
He was the top cornerback on our board here at P. I say our, it was mine. I don't want to, we kind of build this stuff together, but you guys may disagree. I have the final say in my board, so I don't want it to be like, Tim thought he was a top corner and Tim didn't think he was a top corner, right? But Quinyon Mitchell was the top corner on my draft board. And you see here with the lockdown percentage, that would suggest, okay, he's having a pretty darn good year. Now, listen, there's some busts in there too. I want to say out of the top 5 corners, a couple of them were hurt, and only one really wow, he popped. So that's the draft, man. That's part of the process for sure. So, yeah, appreciate you, King John. Thank you for the super chat there, bud. Go ahead and read that one real quick, Tim. I'm gonna.
Sure, we got a comment from Moises Rodriguez. Good morning, guys. Longtime listener, first time live. Thanks for all you do. Thanks for the love. Appreciate that. Glad you made it live. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for the support. And again, I know there's a lot of people that listen on podcast only. That is just as important as coming in here live. We greatly appreciate it. So if you're hearing my voice and you can never make a live show because you're busy and doing things way more important than staring at our ugly mugs, we greatly appreciate you supporting the show any way that you do, man, for sure. So good to see you in here, Moses. All right, let's try to shift gears here a little bit, Tim. Let's jump into the NFL Pro preview, and I'm going to try to be able to read this off. I could make it full screen, but it's going to throw the chat off a little bit for me. Let me see if I can pull it off here. I think I can, actually. Does that make it a little bit easier for you to read there, man?
Yeah, let me drop that logo down here. Bam.
Cool. All right, here we go, guys. So, obviously, Packers at the Bears. We got a 12 Central kickoff, noon kickoff there at Lambeau Field. It's going to be chilly. I know it's going to be in the 20s. The night before, I think it was supposed to be in the single digits, right, Tim? Tonight's supposed to be down to, what is it, 7 or 8 degrees? Am I thinking right?
Yeah, for a low. We're in the teens for an average here. So, yeah, it's going to be chipper tomorrow for sure.
There you go. So it's going to be a cold ball game at Lambeau Field. Let's look at just some of the at-a-glance metrics here.
Here, at a glance, it's important to remember that
the Bears still suck.
It's probably the most important thing to remember. Points per game, all right? The Packers are scoring 27.4 points per game. That's 8th best in the league. The Bears are scoring 17.9 points per game. That is 29th in the league. All right. You guys remember in the offseason, and I tried to wait to have this conversation until this week, because when you have this conversation, when we played them earlier in the year, it's just, well, it's early, a lot can happen, you need to give it time, blah, blah. Remember the media talking about how this team has got to be the most well-constructed, ready-to-win team that any rookie quarterback has ever received, right? Well, Caleb Williams took that team that supposedly, not what my opinion, but what I'm talking about, virtually everyone in the mainstream media. We heard Nick Wright get roasted by Chris Broussard on First Things First the other morning, because he is not letting them pass by the fact that everybody in the media was talking as if this is just going to be an all-world offense and all-world team, right? They're 29th in scoring, okay? And the Caleb Williams supporters and lovers that used to be in this chat, they are no more. And they weren't Bear fans, and we won't mention any names, but boy, they disappeared quick when Caleb started losing, right?
Started doing that.
Exactly. Point differential. The Packers are plus 124. That's 5th best in the league. All right. Plus 124 in point differential. The Bears are minus 62. That's 23rd in the league. All right. Records in close games. The Packers are 5-4 in close games. The Bears are 2-7 in close games. Average margin of victory. The Packers are 13.3 points of average margin of victory. That's 10th best in the league. The Bears' average margin of victory is 14.5 points. That's 6th best in the league. So when they win games, they win them pretty handedly, right? Problem is they just didn't win them very often. All right.
I was going to say, problem is, how many did they have?
Yeah, and turnover differential. The Packers are plus 12. That's 3rd best in the league. And turnover differential, if you don't know, is basically the differential stat of how many times do you give the ball away and how many times do you take the ball away. So it's more or less possessions that you've gained or lost based off of how well your offense has protected the ball and how well your defense has taken the ball away. The Packers are third at plus 12. All right. The Bears with that awesome defense, and listen, that's what blows my mind about the people who are still defending Caleb Williams. It's like, Bub, you have had one of the best defenses that the league has seen in quite some time. Like it's not like they were the best in the league. I should word it a little different. They were a legit top 3, top 5 defense all season long. Their turnover differential is plus 8. Now, part of that is because Caleb's not turning the ball over, but you also got to look at the lack of explosive plays from Caleb Williams and how often he throws the ball more than 10 yards down the field. It hardly ever happens. So this guy who's got this generational talented arm, right, that can make all the throws, all those things that we're going to talk about in draft season that supposedly makes a franchise quarterback, we have not seen that from Caleb.
Yeah, how many points are they getting from those turnovers?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like that turnover differential doesn't mean anything if you're not converting it to points, right?
Yep.
Total penalties, the Packers have 107 penalties. That's 23rd in the league. And the Bears have 103. So the Bears have played slightly more disciplined than the Packers this season. Okay, so that's the one thing that they do have the edge over the Packers in. All right. Anything you want to hit on there from that at a glance numbers there, Tim?
No, I think you hit on it. I mean, you talk about, I think the one particular that I see is the record in close games, right? So, I hopefully this isn't a close game, but it makes me feel good that if it is, they usually crap the bed in the close games this year. So we'll take it. But yeah, I think the main thing to hit on here, and I think every one of us Packer fans needs to remember this, is that the Bears they're not punks on defense.
No.
We like to talk about Caleb, and we talk about, having the weapons that offense does and not getting any points on the board and losing games and all that. That doesn't mean a hill of beans when our offense is out there against their defense. And if you don't think the Bears are coming to play tomorrow and that they're just going to lay down, then you're sorely mistaken. So I think the Packers aren't going to take them lightly. And I don't think we should as fans either. And we shouldn't be surprised if the Bears defense gives us a little bit of hell tomorrow. So Don't take them for granted.
Yeah, and All Good in the chat says, I'm having a hard time even caring about this game. I can understand that stance. I get it because we're in the playoffs, right? There is a 6 seed on the line if we win and Washington loses. But even that, you can't control your own destiny there. I can understand where you come from that perspective. But look at it this way, All Good. This is the last game at Lambeau Field this year, right?
Yep.
Let's start with a bang, right? And I know you want them to win. I know that's not what your comment means. And again, I relate to what you're saying. I do find myself going, well, like we're traveling. I'm gonna do my best to get home for a post game show. We're gonna do a morning show tomorrow and then do a post game show when I get home. And I could probably skip it. It's just the last week of the season and we're already in the playoffs. So I'm thinking the same way you are. But again, last game at Lambeau, man, this year. Let's go out with a bang for sure.
If anything, you're trying to keep the boys focused, right? Because I could see how a lot of dudes on the team might feel just like All Good, right? Like, man, we don't even care. Like we're trying to focus on the playoffs, meaningful football, whatever. But hey, you got your work in front of you. You can't skip this last game. You don't get a bye week just because you're already in, right? And I think like Ron said in the chat yesterday, you don't want to go into the playoffs on a 2-game losing streak. So you don't want to like screw this game off, looking forward to next week when you've got work to do this week. So I hope the boys are focused and they play good ball.
Yeah, definitely. Now let's hear Coach Lynn in the chat says, I am not a huge fan of Terrion Arnold. He has not lived up to the hype. He could turn it around still in the playoffs. Yeah, Terrion Arnold and Kool-Aid McKinstry are 2 of those players that were like in our top 5 of cornerbacks that I was talking about. Were like, they seem like misses. But again, you got to give them time, right? They may come out next year and just light it on fire. The big thing that threw a red flag leading up to the draft, and it's why you got to really, you build your board and then you try to listen to the people that you trust. I'm going to tell you somebody who doesn't get love for this that pointed out that Terrion Arnold and Kool-Aid McKinstry might not be as good corners as people thought they were. And it was Michael Lombardi. And the way that Michael Lombardi approached that was he said, Coach Saban hasn't told me anything, right? Let me explain to you why I think these two may be overrated. The way that Coach Saban called his defense in Alabama there last year with those two guys as his top two corners would suggest to me that he didn't think they had the ability to play as lockdown corners against their current opponents. And it was like, and immediately, Tim, I've combed through all this data. All right, I'm just gonna kind of make a mental note of that. I'm gonna put that back here in the old bank and see, But lo and behold, man, seems like they've struggled a little bit this year, right? So just something you got to take everything into consideration. You really do, man. And I'm not gonna let that one opinion sway my board, right? I go off of everybody's rankings that I trust and then compile a huge board. And then we got combine bonuses and things like that. My goal is to build the draft board database for our PTA board as soon as possible so the combine effects does not sway the board too far. They'll get a bonus for combine and pro day workouts, but I don't want it to have too much of an impact, on the board. So I'm excited for draft season, though. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. All right, let's see here with the live odds. Nothing really has changed him. The Packers are 10-point favorites still. The juice is on the Bears at plus 350 for the money line. If you want to throw a little bit of money away, go ahead and throw that on there for the money line for the Bears. But again, anything can happen too, though. Over-under is set at 41.5 there at Lambeau for that chilly game. Now, if we move down to team overview, offensive or overall passing efficiency, all right? Overall passing efficiency, the Packers have a 5-star advantage over the Chicago Bears. The Packers are 4th. The Bears are 26th, all right? Ooh. When it comes to overall rushing efficiency, the Packers are 8th and the Bears are 25th. So the Packers have a 3-star advantage there. And then pressure rate, the Packers are 22nd. The Bears are 28th. So the Packers have a 2-star advantage there in overall passing efficiency, okay? And again, that is our defense against their offense, right? So once again, their offense, I wish I could get this adjusted to where it looks like it normally does because it does throw me off how things have changed. That's all right. There ain't nothing we can do about it, I don't believe. Maybe, nope. Now it does that. I just can't see the chat now. This is a little bit easier to read here. Well, now we got to scroll over for this. You seeing this, Tim? Somebody come look at this. Yeah, somebody come look at this. It'll be all right. We'll roll with it this way. So again, the Bears offense against the Packers defense and overall passing efficiency. The Bears are 26th. Their rushing efficiency is 25th. And their pressure rate is 28th. The Packers have an advantage in all three of those categories, okay, with how they handle pressure, how efficient they are at running, and how efficient they are at passing. So there is your Packers defense against the Bears offense. When you go to the Packers offense against the Bears defense, all right, overall passing efficiency, the Packers are 8th. The Bears defense is 12th. Overall rushing efficiency, the Packers are 8th. The Bears defense is 25th. When it comes to pressure rate, the Packers are 10th. The Bears are 5th. All right, so what you've got is overall passing efficiency, the Packers have a 1-star advantage. Overall rushing efficiency, the Packers have a 3-star advantage. And pressure rate, the Bears have a 2-star advantage. So, again, when you look at comparing the offense versus the defense on both sides, both teams' offense, both teams' defense, the Packers have the edge in 5 of the 6 categories. The Bears only have in 1. Anything you want to add there, Tim? Any insights? Anything you want to, like I said, add to the conversation there?
Yeah, the Bears suck. They still suck.
It's pretty bad, isn't it?
Pretty evident, right? But again, though, like we said, you look at that pressure rate. They've got an advantage there with us, and we've talked about it, right? We're not getting the pressure that we'd like with 4. Hopefully that changes. So something for our O-line to be conscious of going into this game. And Jordan Love as well, right? We talk about him making the right decision. He's been good at avoiding the pressure for the most part. It's the willingness to hit that open read. If you see your first read, hit it. Sometimes you don't get through your progressions, and we don't want happy feet in the pocket taking sacks. So be aware of that, the pressure rate from that Bears defense.
Yeah. Definitely. All right, let's go to matchup insights here. Montez Sweat versus Zach Tom. It says Montez Sweat has generated a team-high 48 pressures with 5.5 sacks this season, including a 14.7% pressure rate. Now, pause. You guys know how Rashawn Gary's gotten raked over the coals this year, right? Well, He has more sacks than the Chicago Bears' leading sacker, right? With 5.5 sacks is what Montez Sweat has. And the Bears are propped up as this top defense, and I think it's worthy, right? Another example how a team is focusing on pressure rate and they're not getting too hung up on sacks, right? I just thought that really popped to me there. I don't think Zach Tom will have a problem taking care of Montez Sweat. We just got to make sure he's in the best position possible to do that job. So what do you think here about Montez Sweat against Zach Tom? Anything to worry about there, Tim? You think he can handle that?
I think Zach Tom can handle anybody in the National Football League, and that's why we're going to back the Brinks truck up and dump a whole truckload of money in his bank account. So, no, I'm not concerned at all. Again, though, you can't write these guys off, right? I'm not saying, oh, Montez Sweat's nothing. But I think against Zach Tom, he might look like a little child out there. So we'll see. Hopefully we get a good game out of our O-line as a whole. But I have the utmost confidence in our right tackle, Zach Tom.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. AFAM in the chat says, AFAM can't figure out why Jordan Love is regressing. All right, AFAM. Clayton can't figure out why AFAM thinks Jordan Love's regressing. Here's this next insight here, all right? Jordan Love has thrown 161 consecutive pass attempts without an interception, which is the second longest active streak in the NFL behind Patrick Mahomes, who has 237. Again, the most important statistic in the National Football League is protecting the football. When he was putting up big numbers but turning the ball over, we were going, man, you got to stop turning the ball over. Now his numbers take a slight dip, although he's still top 5 in EPA. He's protecting the football, and now we're going, all right, he's regressing. I'm telling you, man, Jordan Love's fine. He's just fine. He's going to be fine. The other thing, too, is you're talking about all year long he's dealt with the MCL. That I'm telling you guys, that didn't just magically heal up and now it's a non-factor. It's a minimal factor now. But the fact that listen to Mark Tauscher and some of these former offensive linemen talk about an MCL. Like it's not just this minute thing. Everybody hears ACL, they think devastating. They hear MCL or PCL in Jair's position, and they think, oh, that's nothing. Go read what Christian Watson's dad said that his son Trey had to deal with the PCL. The PCL is not a minor injury. So the same people that are bashing Jair about the PCL are saying Jordan Love's regressing, and Jordan Love, both of them have dealt with major ligament damage this year, right? Like and we don't even know what grade it was with Jordan Love's MCL. There were some that were saying it was a 1, others were saying it was closer to a 3. Some were saying it was in between a 1 and a 2, in between a 2 and a 3. The fact that he's wearing a brace and limping around on the field there for what felt like 3 to 6 weeks while he was playing says a lot, really does. So as Coach Lynn says here, PCL is no joke.
It's really one of the tougher ones to tear also. Mm-hmm. That's my understanding. So if you do have a tear, it's a big deal. Yeah.
And AFM says he's going to be fine. He's, quote, going to be fine. So we're finally admitting there's something wrong. What are you talking about? There's something wrong. We've pointed out all year long, he's hovering right around a top 10 quarterback. The problem, AFAM, are fans like you expected Jordan Love because he got a big contract to all of a sudden become John Elway. That's not how this works. He may be on a John Elway level or a Brett Favre level one day. You're creating unrealistic expectations for these players, just like there was unrealistic expectations created for Jair Alexander. Like, you can't expect someone to tear a PCL and then him come back the same exact week that Puka Nacua did, because everybody's body's different. And then he goes out there and tries to play for you. And I'm saying this because I've seen your comments earlier about Jair Alexander. When you notice that your comments are bashing Jair, bashing Jordan Love, bashing Matt LaFleur, it's like, what are we even doing? Why are we having a conversation just to come in here and create negativity? Like, I love you. I don't know if it's AFAM, AFAM, OFAM, whatever it might be, but we love you, dude.
Put that name in my mouth right there.
But, man, it's just it's tiresome, dude. It's tiresome. Like, fans don't want to get together and talk ball to hear someone go through and try to find every little minute negative detail about the team. And I don't know how else to say it. It's just, I'm to the point where when you do a podcast and it becomes a chore it becomes depressing because one or two people are just constantly trying to find the negative. What the hell are we doing? We don't do a podcast to get rich. Are you rich? I'm trying to figure out here. I'm looking at the money I've spent on this thing every month. And I'm like, why am I in here getting depressed because one or two people want to just constantly be negative? And here's the thing, man. There's other shows that you can go tune into and comment. You will fit right in, bro. Right in. Again, you're welcome here. We want you here. I think you're a hilarious human being. But, Bub, you got to walk away from the ledge, man. You got to get away from the ledge. Just calm down. And to try to twist words, he's going to be fine. Well, so you're saying there's something wrong. Come on, dude. What are we doing? What are we doing? I want to put my arm around you, just give you a damn kiss on the cheek and say it's going to be okay. Everything's fine. And you got to be careful, Tim, because you don't know what people are going through in their personal life. And typically that's a reflection of like, hey, something's wrong, right? But, man, anyway, I'm going to try not to comment on the negative stuff anymore because it derails the show for sure. And we're about to wrap up anyway. But it's just, am I off base there, man? Be honest with me. Am I – because, like I said, I had the guy comment on Twitter earlier, like, here's a positive aspect of our team. Well, calm down. Calm down. Well,
like Braden said, right? You trolling or are you for real? Yes, probably both.
Yeah.
I think it's probably both.
It's just such a weird way to fan. It's such a strange way to fan. Anyway, Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has been sacked a league high 67 times this season, losing negative 121.9 EPA on such plays. Keep in mind, we just mentioned Jordan Love is top 5 in EPA. Caleb Williams has lost negative 121.9 EPA on such plays, negative 23 more than the next closest quarterback in C.J. Stroud at negative 98.9. 51 of Williams' 67 sacks have occurred on dropbacks longer than 4 seconds. I'm going to say this again. 67 times this season, right? He's lost negative 121.9 total EPA. And when people see these numbers on sacks, they go, well, it's because his offensive line is garbage. And we've talked about this over and over and over. Look at how many times he takes a sack where it's more than 4 yards. I want to say it was MJD on NFL Network. Someone, I was watching a show one day and they were doing highlights. And when Caleb would drop back the pass, as the other guy was doing the commentary, right? They were literally, I think it was MJD or someone was going 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000. It's like, this is not on the offensive line. The offensive line is not good, don't get me wrong. But 51 of Williams' 67 sacks have occurred on dropbacks longer than 4 seconds, 13 more than the closest quarterback. Williams has held onto the ball for an average of 1.12 seconds after being pressured, the second longest time to throw after pressure in the NFL. So is it those world-class receivers that aren't getting open, Tim? Or is it Caleb Williams not understanding how to read a defense? To me, it's Caleb Williams not understanding how to read a defense, and that's exactly what we talked about when he came in the league. He has talented arm, man. This dude, he's got one of the most talented arms the league's ever seen, in my opinion. I think he's more accurate throwing on the run than he is sitting in the pocket, which is wild to think about. But again, he trusts himself on the perimeter. He doesn't feel comfortable sitting in that well and throwing from it. So that's something that we've tried to point out all year long, and it's cool to see that Next Gen Stats actually put that together. I'm going to screen grab that real quick and actually throw that up on Twitter because I'm so sick of people saying it's all because of the offensive line. But what do you think here about this Caleb Williams stat? I mean, it's pretty much what we've seen all year, right?
You've seen frustration from the Bears receiving core throughout the year. A lot of look backs at their quarterback, like, bro, what are you doing? So I don't think you can put that entirely on the Bears, O-line and the receivers. I think it is. It's a Caleb Williams thing, not reading that defense. And if you have a cannon for an arm, that's great. If you're not making the right read, it's kind of useless, right? It's like having a pistol with blanks in it, right? What are you gonna do?
And again, when you compare like Jordan Love to Caleb Williams, and there's a good portion of fans in the NFL that laugh at the thought that Jordan Love is better than Caleb Williams. It always cracks me up. Like Prince says here, DJ Moore and Allen especially shaking their heads a lot. Remember when DJ Moore just walked off the field? That was the best. The play's still going on, and DJ Moore was like, I'm going to walk over.
DJ Moore misses Justin Fields. I love it.
Yeah, there you go. There's probably some truth to that, to be honest with you, man. Yeah, and like Romero Hill says here, let's at least give J-Love, J-10, some love for getting us to the playoffs 2 straight years. And again, that argument I push back on a little bit, right, Romero? Because it's not just about the quarterback, but we have the 4th most drops in the league now. We're in week 18.
Yep.
Right? So that's something else that Jordan is having to play through. That's why when you look at the adjusted completion percentage, you go, he's actually not played bad at all. You've got that aspect of it being thrown in. And then you look at his ability to avoid sacks. This number we just talked about with Caleb Williams here on the sack yardage and EPA that he's lost this year by holding on to the football. And then you see that Jordan is on the totally opposite spectrum of being able to avoid those sack yards. Not perfect. Yeah. We showed that last game. He took a crucial sack there toward the end of the game that probably costed you, if I had to guess, it probably costed you about 16 seconds of play time. Now, you guys know how the game ended, right? When you get under 2 minutes, really when you get under 4 minutes, it now becomes, I don't even look at the clock. I start tallying up how many plays. And that's something Bill Belichick harped on forever. Is like, it's not about how much time's on the clock. It's how many plays can you get off now, right? Yeah. So if you don't take that sack, you probably give yourself at least another shot at your defense stopping them at the end of the game, which them being aggressive with those bootlegs, you just got to tip your cap, because as a defense, you can't play the boot and let them run the ball down your throat, right? You got to make them have to make the lower percentage play, which is the boot, because someone may come free and get a hand on the ball or what have you. So, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, but again, man, Jordan taking them to the playoffs with the youngest roster in the league, right? And his receivers having the 4th most drops in the league is pretty impressive, I think. So
I think so too. And how about gritting through the knee injury? Missing games and then coming back as soon as you're remotely available, trying to play through it, playing through the pain, and trying to keep this season, on the rails and on track. And here we are. We're about to be a 12-win team.
Yep,
I love it.
Exactly. It's crazy. Like his first year as a starter, he was a non-winner, right? And then this year, if he takes care of business against the Bears, you win 12 games, and it's just And again, people will go, well, it's actually 10. He didn't play into. Okay, I got you. All right. Jeez, Pete. So,
you think God never farted?
Let's see here. Holmes in the chat. Let's see. Says Caleb Williams held the ball and ran around for 8 seconds. A snap at USC. No idea why anyone is surprised. That's the thing, Holmes. Like,
we're surprised he's still trying to do it in the NFL.
Yeah, and on top of that, these sideline antics. Like, every time something goes wrong, he'll lay on the field after he gets hit. Like, okay, let me lay here for an additional 3 seconds so the cameras pan on me and everyone sees that this is just about me. Stuff like that right there. You've seen that at USC too. And that's why I put in a tweet earlier this year, like, listen, you can be upset that he's doing it, but don't you dare act surprised. Don't act surprised, because we have seen this the entire time. For God's sakes, he climbed in his mother's arms and cried after losing the game, rather than going to his teammates as a leader and trying to hold their chin up. Like, remember when Aaron Jones did that for, I think it was Dontavion Wicks? Kept seeing him with his head down after a drop, picked his chin up. Like, that's leadership. Not, oh, things didn't go my way. Where's mom? Like, what are we doing? So I'm glad our team is built the way it is, man, for sure.
And I don't think you can necessarily, all of a sudden learn some leadership at this point. I think, I mean, we'll see though. He's still a rookie, right? You can progress and things can change, but I don't see it with him. I don't see that leadership at all. I see that with our quarterback. I don't see it with Caleb.
All right. Let's see here. One more insight. Let's hit this. See if this is a good one to end on here. The Packers will be the 4th team in the NFL history to finish 3rd or worse in their division despite winning at least 11 games, joining the 1984 Raiders, the 1985 Patriots, and the 2020 Browns. That's still wild to think about, that you're making the playoffs and finishing 3rd in your division. It's cool, man. The NFL, or at least the NFC, is running through the North right now, and that's that's good for business, right?
I'll take it. I love it. It is crazy, though, when you see that. You see teams with crummier records seated higher than you and stuff like that. And we know how this works out, right? If you got great competition in any one division, man, can really tilt the balance when it comes to the playoff picture. I mean, 3 NFC North teams, man, in the playoffs. You got to love it.
Definitely. And listen, one of the big knocks on the Packers this year is they haven't been able to beat the good teams. And listen, I think there's validity to that. You can't deny it, right? The Packers are 0-5 against teams with at least 13 wins in 2024 and 11-0 against all other opponents. But boy, oh boy, if you're going to lose to a team, you'd much rather be a 13-win team than obviously someone who's a scrub. This Jair Alexander one here, I think, really hits home, Tim. It says, the Packers have allowed a 9.7% lower completion percentage with Jair Alexander on the field, 61% when he's there compared to when he's not at 70.7% this season. Opposing quarterbacks have also thrown for just 7 touchdowns and 8 interceptions when Alexander's on the field, recording a 77.5 passer rating. When Alexander is off the field, quarterbacks have thrown for 15 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, recording a 95.3 passer rating. So there's no two ways about it. This defense is better with Jair Alexander on it. Of course, he's got to be on the field, right? And there's going to be a tough decision made this offseason. You guys know my stance hasn't changed. I really feel like they're going to go to him and try to restructure. It won't look like a huge pay cut. It'll actually be more guaranteed money for Ja, but you will loosen up the cap and lower the overall value of the contract with him trading, I think, guaranteed for not guaranteed money. So it's going to be interesting, man, to see how they approach this. I think we've said this all year long. The team is better with Jair Alexander on it. There's no two ways about that. But can he be on the field? That's the tough question, and it's always sucks as a fan because, we don't fan in the way that we call people soft, injury prone, all that, because you know damn well the people that say that would not say that to these players' faces. They don't have enough hair on their ass to do that. But we're not going to do it on this show. And again, we got a rule: if you wouldn't say it to a player's face, then you don't say it on the show. Period. Case closed. That's cowardly, is what it is. So. The defense is better with Ja on it, Tim. Just can he stay healthy next year, man? That's the big question.
We'll have to see. And we'll have to see what the offseason brings and, how Jair's going to approach that as well, and what limitations, if there are any, to rehabbing that and figuring out how to get back to, as close to his 100% form as we can. But I agree wholeheartedly. You're not going to hear any Ja slander from me. I think we're a better team when he's on the field. The problem is he hasn't been on the field, and it's injuries are part of the game. It's how you deal with adversity that makes you a true champion. So we'll see how things go for Ja going forward, and still fingers crossed that we go on a run here. Maybe we see him down in New Orleans on his birthday playing in a Super Bowl. You never know. Crazier things have happened.
It sure happened in 2010, man. I'm telling you right now, there was nobody talking about the Packers going on that Super Bowl run. Nobody. They didn't think we had a chance, and that's all it takes, man. A little bit of momentum at the right time and just build off each of those. I love what Coach Mike did to create that momentum. He was just talking about, how many quarters were left. Remember, 16 quarters is what he said, 16 quarters, right? And then it was, 12 quarters. If you guys have watched America's game, 8 quarters, 4 quarters, right? It's a really, really cool mindset, man, when you break it down like that. That's all you got to do at the playoffs is just, like you said, Tim, nobody cares about these games that they lost against all these 13-win teams and all that. If you go on a run and win the whole damn thing, man, nobody cares.
Yeah. And all we got to do is beat them once.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to talk about losing to, Minnesota twice this year if we beat them once in the playoffs and end their season.
Exactly right. Yep. The last time when we here, Josh Jacobs versus the Bears defense. Josh Jacobs has totaled 1,285 yards and 14 touchdowns on 295 carries this season, recording 1,053 of his yards after contact. Third most in the NFL. Holy cow. He's got over 1,000 yards. He may very well end up with 1,100 yards after contact after this game. That is crazy, man. Third most in the league. It says Jacobs has also generated plus 202 rushing yards over expected this season, the 5th most among running backs. The Bears have allowed the 8th most yard after contact to running backs this season at 1,313, allowing them to generate the 5th most RYOE, rushing yards over expected at plus 204. Now, here's the thing. we don't want to overwork Josh Jacobs this week, right? I'm seeing these numbers and going, Josh, just go out there and smack them.
I know. I was just going to say 300-yard game or what? Let's go.
But we know we want a healthy Josh Jacobs for the playoffs. And it goes back to one of the comments here from the viewers earlier in the show that was like, man, how do you approach this? It's like the game really doesn't even feel like it means anything. But you got to treat it like any other game, Tim. That's what I keep coming back to. You got to pretend like this is a playoff game, and get your guys up for it and make sure that you're creating serious momentum going into the playoffs. With that being said, if someone is not 100%, and I know nobody's 100% in week 18 of the NFL season, I understand that, but if there's any chance, hey, this guy's nursing an injury, let's play it safe. Let's play it safe, and whoever's fully healthy to play, go out there and play like your life depends on it, man.
I agree. And you're managing your workload for the guys that you said like are, banged up a little bit here, but you don't want guys going cold, right? They got to see some action, unless they're absolutely banged up. I think it's a good thing that we've made the decision on that injury report yesterday already, that we're just ruling guys out already. So we don't even need to think about, the what ifs or anything. Ron in the chat. Is that one of them uppity dogs barking over there, Clay? What do you got going on over there?
I don't know what breed they are, but boy, they're gorgeous. There's a brother-sister down there, and they look like they're from two different litters, man. They're the boy dog is solid black. It kind of looks like a Labradoodle or something, but the boy dog is black, and he has an ice blue eyes. Like they pierce your soul. Like I went downstairs last night and I'm like, what do you want, dude? I'll go make you a steak. What do you need? Like he's the most gorgeous eyes. And then the other one, Tilly, is a brown pup. And I think she's got like light brown eyes, but she reminds me of mine and Mandy's our first dog, our first child, as we say, Sophie, who was a schnauzer. I'm like, well, I might steal her when we leave out of here. You might hear some rubber peeling when we pull out of the driveway. I'm gonna throw Tilly in the back of the Expedition. We're gonna get out of here. So, So, Coach Lynn asked him where we're at. We're in Chattanooga today for the weekend. So, the plan, Coach, is to do a morning show tomorrow, pack everything up, hit the road, watch the game on the road, and then be home, set everything up, and do a post game show. That's the plan there. So, hopefully, we can make that happen. But anyway, Tim, you got anything else, bub? Anything at all, man, you want to hit on before we wrap up?
I'm just looking in the chat to see anything we want to hit on.
Yeah, Carl K here. Oh,
sorry. Sorry. Braden, would have tied first if the Bears won 6 more games.
Love it. Carl K says, you play for your integrity, but you don't play stupid. Amen, Carl. And that's hard to do, because There's a temptation to want to start everybody and go out there and bolt race the Bears, right? But you don't want to be foolish. Yeah, definitely. All right, that's it, guys. We're going to get out of here. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully we give you a little bit better ideas. The garage door sounds like somebody's running a chainsaw. I'm sure y'all hear that. We'll try. Hopefully we gave you a little bit better idea of how this game is set to play out. We're going to be back in the morning to do a morning show. It'll probably be normal time, 8:30 Central. We'll do a morning show, and then I'll pack everything up, hit the road. So we'll bring you guys the latest information that we have.
So no show this evening?
This evening we got dinner plans. Here's the thing. I think our dinner plans are around 6. If it's an early dinner and I don't have too many daddy sodas, I don't want to get on here and get mouthy.
Just take a night with your family, all right? It'll be good. Don't worry about us. We'll be all right.
I never drink and do the show. I want to protect the integrity of the show, even though it sucks. So I don't want to have a couple whiskeys and then come on here and get into a fight. You know what I'm saying?
Totally get it, man. Totally get it.
My last name is Bailey. We're Irish, so it happens. It happens. So anyway, there's a chance you might just see a random stream pop up. Tim, you make plans, do what you got to do, and if for some reason I do schedule a show and you see one pop live, you just hop in here if you can. But
sounds like a plan, man.
All right, man. Appreciate everybody. This is a lot of fun. We'll see you in the morning, definitely, possibly tonight. If we don't see you till the morning, y'all have a great evening. Be safe out there on this glorious Saturday, no matter where you're located. Just like I said, man, if you, as we always say, Tim, if you drink, don't drive, do the watermelon crawl, right? So
that's right.
Y'all take care. We'll see you soon.
And we go.
We're out. Bye, guys.